This is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN Network. And joining me right now is Punit Dhillon. He is the chairman and CEO of Skye Bioscience. It's a publicly traded company. The symbol is SKYE on the OTCQB. And you can actually see Punit do a presentation on Skye Bioscience at our upcoming virtual event, the Planet MicroCap Showcase, happening April 20 through 22nd, 2021. It's coming up right now, and be sure to register to check that out. So Punit, thank you for joining me today. How are you doing?
Hey, thanks so much for having me on your show on SNN, Robert.
It's great to
Pleasure.
have you. Yeah, no, it's great to have you. I mean, we've chatted many times throughout the years, and you've worn many different hats. So, this is a new venture, first time doing an interview on Skye Bioscience. So let's start with a quick overview in history. How did we get to where we're at today?
Yeah, it's great. So Skye, first, we're looking forward to the presentation. So all the listeners will be able to get into a much more deeper understanding of the company, but we're a biopharmaceutical company and it's a new startup. We're focused on developing these proprietary first-in-class molecules to treat different types of diseases. And as a lot of biotechs are focused on, we're also focused on high unmet medical needs. What's different about this company is that we're focused on these bioengineered synthetic cannabinoid derivatives, and they're designed to significantly enhance different therapeutic benefits in a lot of different applications. So cannabinoids are still being better understood, but there's been quite a lot of activity in this space, and we're quite excited about what we're specifically working on in our pipeline. Our lead program is focused on glaucoma. It's a huge unmet need, over 80 million patients worldwide. It's the leading cause of irreversible blindness. And there's been these anecdotes that a lot of people hear about of the link of cannabis and cannabinoids being able to treat glaucoma, but they don't realize that there's really strong science behind this notion. And there's been many different studies that have shown this in different publications of the ability of cannabinoids to be able to lower the interocular pressure, which is usually the root cause of glaucoma. And what the challenge has been is that you can't just go and take your typical cannabis that you get from your local retail store. It's really that's not how you can have a consistent application of a drug and have necessary benefits. And unfortunately, these other approaches have their own side effects, and you have the psychoactive activity, the high associated with taking THC, and you can't just even apply THC locally. That's the extract of THC. It needs to be formulated in a unique way. So what we've done is we've developed a very unique molecule. It's proprietary. It's a very great way to deliver a drug directly into the eye, and then it metabolizes into what you want it to do, and make sure that you have the desired effect and the outcome.
Very good. So where are we currently at in the clinic? I guess I'd say, where's the program right now?
Yeah. So currently there's no cure, for glaucoma. So we've just going back in terms of the history of the company, we over the last few years, the company has generated quite a bit of data. I came in about 7 months ago and established a new team and a very focused clinical development strategy to move this lead program into the clinic. So we're finishing up our clinical enabling studies. So these are the preclinical studies, which is the penultimate step before you'd initiate the clinical trial. We expect to be in the clinic before the end of the year and treating our first patients before the end of the year. So we're quite excited about that. Clearly, there's been a really tough year. In the last few years, or at least 2020 was a blur for a lot of companies. We're not focused on the COVID vaccine space or COVID therapeutics. So there has been challenges historically in terms of timelines. But since I've taken over in August, we're quite excited about how fast we've been able to move these programs, get them on track, and establish a very clear inflection kind of for the company. So that's what we're focused on. After that trial gets initiated, we also have an exciting additional molecule that we've been quietly working on, and we're looking forward to sharing a development plan on that later this year as well.
Very good. So, I've done, me, I've done a number of interviews with companies across the spectrum, and including biotechs that are also working on developing molecules using cannabinoids for various different indications, of course. So what would you say makes Skye and your molecule unique and different compared to some of your peers out there?
Yeah, so clearly there's a large market for glaucoma. There's a lot of different drugs out there right now, but the current drugs are really just tackling kind of symptomatic relief of what's the challenge with glaucoma is that you need to have a very good drainage of the aqueous humor, the main fluid in your eye, in order for kind of prevention of this intraocular pressure that builds up. So most of these drugs are tackling the production of the fluid or the outflow of the fluid, and all of the outcomes are pretty poor. So they're kind of single-sided in terms of that approach. Most of the monotherapies have been very ineffective. Now you're starting to see kind of a new class of combinations for the disease, and there seems to be an improvement. But most everything that's on the market right now is aiming to lower intraocular pressure and to really slow the disease progression. So what's the challenge here is that most patients are developing tolerance to these drugs. They have a poor response rate over time, and essentially they become non-responders to the treatment over time. So just by switching around the current available treatments isn't enough. I think that this is a rallying cry for a real innovation that's required in the space, and that's what the company had historically done, and that's what intrigued me to come here. You and I have talked before about non-responders. This is a similar thesis to kind of what we explored at OncoSec in cancer immunotherapy of helping patients. This is different in terms of the modality, so I don't want to get the two confused, but certainly in terms of an unmet medical need. So what we did and what intrigued me about this company is they went head to head with two of the top leading prescriptions, which is representative of over like 50% of the $7 billion market. And it showed that THC VHS, the drug that we're developing, was able to have greater lowering or intraocular pressure lowering and over a greater duration against the two leading prescribed drugs. Now that's animals. Those results were done in rabbits, but we can recapitulate that data in human trials. Then I think we have a really strong winner. The other intriguing part of cannabinoids, and I think you've alluded to this, is that there's still so much to be understood. And even though our lead approach is focusing on lowering intraocular pressure, over 1/3 of the patients that have glaucoma have normal intraocular pressure, but they still have the damage to their optic nerve and other nerve cells. So what we're, I think, very interested to explore is what the long-term effects that cannabinoids can have in terms of applications of neuroprotection. It's still too early to say. There's been a lot of studies and some literature that has shown neuroprotective properties. So I think that would be the clear differentiator, and I think that's the real disruptive quality I think that cannabinoids can offer.
Absolutely. So now normally I'll go to, background and value catalyst, but you kind of already given a flavor of both of those answers so far in the interview. So, before I let you go, the one question I wanted to ask is going to be more of a macro question, talking about, cannabis legalization and how that might affect biotech and drug development circling around cannabinoids. So how does that affect your business where, there's been talk of it, there's certainly licenses are popping up in various states around the country. So does that have any effect on timelines or anything like that?
Yeah, so not necessarily. So what you're referring to is mostly on the plant-based,
Right.
retail
Of course.
market and that medical cannabis market, which is different than what we're focused on. So in pharmaceutical development, there's very strict kind of adherence around a drug development path set by the FDA. However, I think that there is, with greater kind of openness, there is a potential for uh, some of these class of drugs, like, because we get classified as a Schedule 1 with the DEA, even though we're not touching the plant and it's a bioengineered molecule. The mechanism is what kind of is still putting us as a Schedule 1. We hope that over time, these types of drugs get moved from Schedule 1 to just to where CBD is right now, where it's not a Schedule 1 drug. What's intriguing, I think, in overall in the drug space, is that we're finally seeing a huge kind of traction of cannabinoids, and one of the most important kind of events for your listeners has been the GW acquisition by Jazz Pharmaceuticals. I think that was a big validation and evidence of something that is a cannabinoid that can come out of clinical and regulatory that process and be approved.
That was a big deal.
It's a really big deal. So I think that's one of the rare examples of what we're going to see in terms of the cannabinoid space, and that's where Skye has a real strong opportunity to realize that type of value over time. So that's where I think we're focused. We're really positioned to drive value. We have several important, preclinical and clinical milestones stacked over the next 12 months, which make it a very compelling investment thesis. At the moment, the data, what we're trying to do is really show validation of the technology. So I think what the investors can kind of take away from that right now in terms of why this is a compelling investment thesis is that it has a very competitive valuation relative to the peer group. We're a company that's really milestone centric with showing data preclinically and clinically. That's going to be a major inflection. We have a huge advantage in terms of speed of execution. We have a very experienced management team. The team that I'm working with, I've worked with over the last 20 years in some capacity or another. So we're quite excited about really driving those things forward. And if we can hit those types, that kind of cadence with valuation, hitting our milestones and speed of execution, then it opens up continued capitalization opportunities and advancing a much more deeper pipeline with the goal of really trying to partner and license these molecules, because there's no way we can go after every single opportunity. So we really want to repeat that type of model that GW was able to do so well.
Very cool. Well, with that, Punit, where can our audience go and find more information about Skye Bioscience?
Great. Yeah. So you can email us at ir@skyebioscience.com. Our website is skyebioscience.com, and our social handles are at Skye Bioscience. Reach out to us, and we're always open to answer any questions and educate people about what we're doing.
Sounds good. Well, Punit, as always, thank you for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Good luck, stay safe, and I look forward to our next update.
Hey, thanks so much, Robert. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.